Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We would like to talk about a couple of points, and let's start with AI. AI and therefore bots are becoming stronger and stronger. You might remember these human validation questions at a specific point on a website, which are asking you, are you a human? And then you could click on a boat, for example, or a dog. And you could see 9 pictures. Half of them had a boat on it, and the other half had only a sea or the ocean without anything. And that was bot identification years ago. It was rudimentary, it was simple. And many, many years later, it started to evolve very much. It said, please click on a boat with 5 smiling people on it, dancing in the sunshine or in the sunset. Uh, um, I might simplify this a little bit, but the point is clear. What did we learn from it? So AI is basically becoming smarter, but more importantly, bot identification is becoming tougher. And in the beginning, it was easy. Is there a boat? Yes, no. Bots couldn't identify it. And years later, we are discussing about boats, timings, emotions, and yeah, is that even enough to identify bots? So we should raise the fundamental question behind it, how fake traffic has infiltrated your marketing and analytics data. And that is what we will discuss today. And we are Daniel Distler. Uh, Daniel Distler has a lot of experience in the area. He's working for more than 15 years in the area of edtech and online marketing, and is right now the co-founder and managing director of Fraud Zero, a company that can detect bots. And he's discussing today with me, Tilman Hamling. I'm a senior expert privacy here at Usercentrics, working for this company since 2018. Next slide, please. And the one after this. Perfect. Thank you so much. And this is how data protection looked like in 2018. So it was the GDPR. And as you can see, there were discussions about other regulations in other areas, but they were simply not there yet. So data protection was tiny, it was limited, but it was future oriented. And so 5 years later, it looked like that. So as you can see, all the major markets have basically integrated data protection regulations. Brazil with LGPD, POPIA in South Africa, PLPL in China, and many, many other countries also, or states also in the US, for example. Complex, I know. Next slide, please. But generally speaking, the point is that they are all working pretty much the same. So 90% of the data protection regulations are working like this. And for your information, the rule of thumb is the US is the country where it's a little bit different, but 90% of the data protection regulations are working like there is a tracking technology that collects personal data or personal identifiable information, PII, and you need a legal basis for this. In GDPR, it's Article 6. In LGPD in Brazil, it's Article 7. In POPIA, South Africa, it's Article 11. So they are all pretty much similar in the end. And this brings us to one conclusion. I cannot really collect personal identifiable information without consent. So many fancy attack tools can only be very effective when they collect PII. And this again brings us to one question behind it that says, what is actually impacting the consent rate? And we created 4 buckets out of it. One is, you could say, the market bucket, which industry, business model, country, device or timing is behind it. One is trust. What is my opinion to a company? And do I trust this company? One is design. How should I place or integrate a CMP? Do I use the correct wording? What colors should the buttons have, etc.? And one is, last but not least, the tech area. Yeah, it could be contextual privacy or contextual consent, late consent. But more and more, we saw that bots also have a high impact to it. And that goes back to a talk we had in 2021 with a DAX company here in Germany. And they told us one thing, and this one thing was we have a consent rate of 70%, but we could only explain 30 to 40% of our data. What is your explanation on that? So we were looking into potential factors impacting the data quality. And next slide, please. And this is obviously data privacy or GDPR compliance. But it could also be ad blockers, for example, browser protocols like ITP, ETP, who are deleting cookies after a certain period, but also fundamentally bots and its impact to it. So our goal was to not just make GDPR compliance and therefore mostly consent explainable, but also to make bot traffic in our CMPs more explainable again.
Thank you, Tilman, for your introduction and for your handover. So I'd like to deep dive into the topic of bots and ad fraud. And I'd like to show you how you can tackle this topic and optimize your online marketing budget towards real humans. So let's start with some general statistics. So nowadays, already 50% of online global website traffic is bot generated. Now you might be wondering because you don't see those numbers in your web analytics tools or in your other tracking tools. Of course, you don't see them because you have huge restrictions nowadays. For instance, let's say your web analytics tool is only tracking users after consent. And also your tracking tools or your analytics tools are not built to detect bots. That's why you don't see those big numbers in your tools, but they are flying through the internet and also might harm you. And how they can harm you, I show you on this slide. Because there are two categories of bots. First of all, they're good bots. Those might be the typical search engine crawlers, let's say a Google crawler or a Yahoo crawler or a Microsoft crawler. And then there are uptime checker checking your website, so IT tools that your IT regularly uses in order to check your website performance, etc. So those are good bots, not really harming you. And then there are bad bots, for instance, sniper bots. What they do is they buy limited goods. So you might not sell all your limited sneakers or whatever you're having to one specific sniper bot. So that's really harming you. There are bots who are doing fake account creation. There are even bots who are trying to steal passwords and email addresses from your real users, from your customers. So that's really a big problem. Then there are bots who are scraping your website for price data, for your content. There are lead generation bots who are trying to do online registrations. And you might think, oh, my lead gen campaign was really good, but at the end, you're only having Mickey Mouse addresses, as I'm saying, in your CRM database. And one of the categories and bot types that we're talking about today are advertising bots. So in order to give you a better idea how huge the problem is already, I show you 3 examples from 3 platforms you all know. First of all, Meta with the Facebook platform removed over 6 billion. We're not talking about millions, we are talking about billions fake accounts per year. So that's incredible. Same for TikTok. Those are official numbers from TikTok. They removed in Q4 2022 more than 1.5 billion fake interactions per quarter. Those could be followers or shares or likes. And now imagine what this may also mean to your specific campaigns, to your traffic. Of course, those bots are flying around and also may click on your ads and land on your website. So in the worst case, you pay for ad impressions or for paid clicks that are bot generated because they're flying all over around the platforms. Third quarter, you may remember Twitter last year. And when Elon Musk tried to buy Twitter, the whole discussion was around how many fake accounts, how many bots are on this platform versus real humans. Nobody could really answer it. Even Elon Musk couldn't answer it. Twitter couldn't answer it. He bought Twitter, and this year he went even a little bit further, saying that with modern AI, you can solve any proof you're not a robot test with a penny, because you can spin up more than 100,000 human-like bots and then use them to solve those proof you're not a robot tests that Tilman also talked about at the beginning of our session today. And that's also something where you can see the scale of bots. I show you another example in a second. But first of all, let's talk about the damage in ad spend that is harming also your specific ad spend. Advertising fraud already reached 100 billion damage per year in 2022. This year, numbers are even higher. We're talking mainly about fake clicks and fake impressions. And now imagine some of your online marketing budget is also damaged by advertising fraud. So in those 100 billion, of course, some of your euros or dollars are also included. How does it work? Very easily shown on one example. I mean, this is just one possible ad fraud schema. There are lots of more. But I just want to give you an idea how it works. So if you would be a fraudster, what would you do? You would set up a fake site. But if you would be a professional fraudster, you would not only be setting up one website, you would set up hundreds or thousands or 100,000 of websites. You would put real content on those websites, but not with somebody writing it. Of course not. You would use tools like ChatGPT in order to generate this content automatically. You would then put ad slots on those websites and then buy fake traffic. So in the end, what you're doing, you're selling real ads. So your ads to fake sites and fake users. And that's how you could make money with ad fraud. So now you might think, okay, but AI is for sure solving this topic, because I mean, the big players are already working on it and they're using AI techniques in order to solve this problem for me. So why do I need to think about this issue at all? The truth is, nobody will solve this issue from the big ad tech companies, because AI is also used by fraudsters. So what they are doing is, as I said, they're using, for instance, ChatGPT in order to generate thousands of those websites. So this is one example where you see that there was a problem generating the website. So in the headline is not a headline, but it's from an AI language model that said that it had a problem to generate this website. So this is just one proof point where you can see how fraudsters are nowadays using AI technique in order to scale up their business. So one of our partners, the most known and best ad fraud researchers worldwide, Dr. Augustin Fuß, said, digital ad fraud is literally the bad guy's ATM machine. It spits out cash. And every year, 600 billion of marketeers' digital ad budget refills it. I mean, imagine this. This is better than going than robbing a bank or doing other criminal stuff. So you came to this webinar today because we want to show you some tips what you can do today already without investing one single euro in order to find out how big the problem is for your website, for your online marketing campaigns. That's why we'd like to show you, to give you some tips. First of all, I already said it, check your own data. Everybody out there has an analytics tool, a web analytics tool. So what you, for instance, can do, you can check for unusual traffic. For instance, in the night when people, when your audience, your customers are sleeping, um, check for strange geolocations, for instance. Of course, web analytics tools are very limited nowadays as they need a consent as well in order to track the user data. That's why we'll talk about another solution in a second. Second tip, deactivate search partners and audience networks, for instance, the Facebook audience network, or Pangle, the TikTok audience network, and search partners, of course, for the search engines. We see lots of bot traffic coming from those networks, so don't do it. Third tip, check your ad placements and KPIs like the click rates manually. If you, for instance, work with GDN or Performance Max as a campaign type, you really should check the placements. Same applies if you work with a DSP, managed DSP or a self-serve DSP. You need to check the ad placements and look for unusual KPIs there as well. So if you see placements with a CTR of, let's say, 20 or 30%, maybe you have a problem because, I mean, everybody knows a typical CTR for a display channel is definitely not above 1%. Fourth tip, work with block lists and or whitelists in your programmatic channels. This is really crucial. Otherwise, you will never ever have a clear campaign or a proper campaign delivering to real users. And then I'd like to show you our free fraud 7-day trial today. So what you can do additionally to those measures with our product. Let's jump in. We have 3 categories where we can help you. First of all, wasted ad spend. We talked about it. Remember, 100 billion. So what we are doing, we are collecting all of your website traffic. And we can show you how you are affected by bot-generated traffic on your specific website, data that you can't see in your Google Analytics. In order to give you an idea how this looks like in the tool, I quickly jump to the tool and just show it to you for some seconds. So first of all, normally you need to implement a tag. That's very easy. You can do it with the Google Tag Manager or hard code it on the website. We have a main tag and a conversion tag. In a minute, Tilman will tell you that you don't even need to do that because we have a great integration with user-centrics. So just wanted to show it to you. Normally, you need to integrate one single script. If you do user-centrics, it's even easier now. And then you get data after integrating the script for your website sessions. So what you can see here in this example is this website had in the last 7 days 114,000 sessions. And out of those 114,000 sessions, 15% were bot generated. 85%, of course, were human generated then. And what we additionally show are the bot types. So for instance, how many crawlers did you have? Things like automation tools, discrepancies. This is very common for real ad fraud. And one of the most important and most interesting information for you is, of course, the channel data for your online marketing channels. So we are bringing transparency into your channels by showing how many bot-generated traffic did you have, for instance, on Google Ads, on players like Criteo and Trade Doubler, on Google Shopping, and so on, you name it. This is just an example, of course, so all your channels will appear here. You can even slice and dice the data as you want it. You can add filters. We have plenty of dimensions. You can see where the traffic is coming from, if there are anomalies in the hours, so the time, specific device types that might be a problematic ISPs, browsers, operating systems, and so on. So you can do everything here in order to understand your specific website data. This is your website. Now let's go back to the presentation. When we are talking about online marketing, we are not only talking about sessions and clicks, we are also talking about banners, of course. If you're doing display advertising, programmatic advertising, you are also might have a problem because they have very low click rates normally. So you don't even see lots of traffic on your website, but we can see it by measuring those banners in ad. So this is a typical display placement, to be honest, with lots of ad slots. So maybe it's not typical. It's a so-called made for arbitrage or made for advertising site. So way too many banners. The thing is, we are able to measure all of those ad impressions. So how does it work? Let's go on the next slide. You just have to place one script into those ads. So in your DSP, that's a single line of code. You just put it in, and then we're able to measuring all of those placements as I showed it to you. And then you traffic, especially shitty traffic. And what you can do then is we are giving you block lists. This is really key in order to have a efficient and effective online marketing campaign. And you can exclude those block lists from your campaigns and get to more effective, more efficient campaigns in the future. How does it work? Very, very quickly, just to give you a glimpse, we're using more than 2,000 real-time cybersecurity challenges and various crawlers in order to tackle the topic of ad fraud and also media quality. It's not just about around ad fraud, it's also about media quality, as I showed it to you on the specific placement. We are, for instance, using browser challenges, asking the browser to calculate different challenges, and we can see if, for instance, it's an iPhone or maybe it's a data center. We are using behavioral data. Does a human really behave like that compared to other humans, or is it maybe an unusual behavior and might indicate it's a bot? We're using things like honeypots, placing one by one pixels on the website in the navigation, for instance, so no human would ever click on them, but a bot would follow this link, and then our trap is effective, and we can see, besides other signals, that it might be a bot. We're using tons of deterministic parameters, checking where the IP address came from, and so on. And of course, we are using lots of AI technique that I can't disclose today, but this gives you an idea of how we are detecting bots. Let's go to the next chapter. Now we talked about wasted ad spend. You also have a big problem regarding polluted analytics. And Tilman will present it to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very interesting. So let's go back a bit at the beginning of the webinar. So a little reminder here. Data quality is quite crucial, but it's not just quite crucial, but it's also very, very impacted by data privacy, data protection, compliance, and also by bots. So from our perspective, it was super interesting to get a deeper look into that area, meaning we wanted to know fundamentally, do we have a bot problem also from a consent perspective, or basically, in other words, how are bots actually interacting with CMPs. And we did some research together with Fraud Zero here in this area, and we started to do a macro view. Macro basically means how is the bot or how are the bots actually interacting with the majority of CMPs in the way that we are seeing it right now. And one question is, are they active or are they passive? So are they actually or are they able to interact with the CMP? Can they press the button, to say it like this? And in other words, also, if they are active, what are they doing with the CMP? Which buttons do they actually click? And what you can see here on the left is the interaction rate. Sorry, interaction rate, which basically means if you look at the red circle, 21.4% of the bots can interact with a content management platform or a cookie banner. And on the right, the acceptance rate, you can see that 93.9% of all bots that are interacting with the CMP are actually accepting. And this is the fundamental problem here, because if they are accepting, then you will have a problem because your ad technologies are firing, they're doing marketing activities, but basically they're placing the cookies on the bots. And this is what you do not want. And from here, I would quickly hand over to Daniel because we wanted to show you how easily you actually can integrate the Fraud Zero integration to go from this macro view that we just taught you to the micro view, which basically means your own setup.
Thank you, Tilman. So as I already mentioned, normally you would need to integrate a script, Fraud Zero script. That's not necessary anymore if you're already a user-centric client. So good news here. I go to the user-centric interface for a second and show you how you can do it very easily. So if you'd like to, you can follow me in another tab, open up another browser window and do it because it's so simple. You could even see first data coming in at the end of the webinar if you like to. Otherwise, I show you how easy it is. So on the left-hand side, you see the navigation pane from user-centrics. You have two integrations nowadays there. One of it is Fraud Zero, and you simply click on Add Integration. Then you can see we're talking about ad fraud protection. We're talking about 7 days free trial. You don't need any credit card or anything. Also, after 7 days, it's over. You don't need to take any action, so no worries. And the integration is done via one click. To be honest, it's 3 clicks, but it's also easy as with one click. So first click, create an account. As you can see, my email address is already available. I type in my company name. I have the Mickey Mouse GmbH, and my domain is fraudzero.com. I confirm that I have read and accepted the terms of service. We won't read through them now. You can do it on your own. Just click next. Now we can see the data processing service. Also, you can see the tag that will be added on your website, as I said, without using the Google Tag Manager or any other tag manager that you're using. It's simply put on the website via user-centrics. And then you click on Add Integration, and that's it. So we are going back to the presentation because what I can't show to you now is the data results, but I can show you how it would look like in 1 hour, for instance, from now on with your own data. Tilman.
Yes, thank you so much. So as you can see, what we already have seen from our own perspective in the last 5 years, I would actually say one major learning was that whenever you have a tech product or a software product, it's fundamental to have an easy integration. And I think this one-click integration is super easy to integrate. very good detection. Actually, I think this is a very valuable partnership that we are having here. This also brings us to a USP in the consent market, but also brings the end customer closer to an identification of if they actually have a bot problem or not. So a very, very nice product integration, I would say. And what you can see here, fundamentally, these are two dashboards that you will receive in the integration already. So what we've also discussed previously in this macro view, the consent interaction rate is something that you see here. Again, the human interaction, which is in that case around 60%, something like that, and the bot interaction around 20%. But as you remember, from the right side, most of the bots can, if they can accept also the consent banner. And this is where the fundamental problems are actually being created. Yeah, so this is when the cookies are placed, when they can consent, and this is when the ad fraud is actually happening. But the integration goes a bit deeper. Yeah. So as you can see here, you don't just see this is the human part and this is the bots part. You can also see the channels. So are your core marketing products actually infected or not? Yeah, how does it look in your Facebook ads, your Criteo, Google ads, Instagram ads, etc. And there you can actually read out if you have a bot problem and yes, in which channel that actually is.
Thank you, Tilman. Another topic that we wanted to talk to you about is the topic of web analytics and web analytics transparency, because having now understood what you can do in terms of consent management and your consent statistics, you also should be aware that your on-site traffic that is captured by, for instance, Google Analytics 4 or your preferred web analytics tool, isn't really capturing 100% of the data. So for GA4 especially, as most of the advertising are still relying on Google, it's highly intransparent how their bot tracking really works. We know that they are sometimes capturing some bots, but they're also deleting bots out of their statistics. So it's highly intransparent what you can see in your web analytics sessions. Also, keep in mind that your web analytics tools, of course, are only allowed to fire after consent. We are able to use the legitimate interest from fraud prevention, Erwägungsgrund 47 bis 6, if you're really interested in the deeper details, and also have a big paper from ReadSmith where your data policy officers can read through how it exactly works. But this means that in comparison to Google Analytics, for instance, we capture double the data approximately, depending on your consent rate, of course. And also not just capturing double of data, but we're also able to then rate your traffic according to whether it was good traffic, so human traffic, or bad traffic, so bot-generated traffic. And also keep in mind that it, for the performance marketers out there, gets harder from day to day to really track your other KPIs like conversions. Yeah. So also all of the other data, not just the traffic data, but also conversion data, is not complete in your web analytics tools. Therefore, it's really, really interesting. It's really, really important, to have tools out there that help you to measure more traffic again and qualify this traffic for humans and bots. What else can you do with Fraud Zero? We have some use cases that might be interesting because we offer a universal event that you can also use for things like, already talked about it for a second, lead generation. So what you could do with our help is really flag all bot-generated leads. So let's say you're having lead management campaigns, and you might wonder why the quality is so poor, because maybe you have like fake email addresses in there, like Mickey Mouse addresses, or even you might have real addresses in there. from real people, but this data is stolen, then you might have a problem. Also, from a compliance perspective, you have a real big problem. Keep in mind that in the last years there have been lots of data breaches out there. So it's not we're not only talking about Mickey Mouse addresses here. We're talking about real addresses. So what we can detect is whether this registration, this lead, was human generated or bot generated, and we can give you this data and send it to your specific CRM. Another use case, you can, for instance, flag your orders. So if you use your transaction data, we can add a specific information to it in order to flag your suspicious orders and tell your CRM if those orders should be checked manually by somebody from logistics or order fulfillment or financial risk management. Um, and not just send out the order, but as I said, check them manually. So as you could see, there are lots of different use cases, especially in the space of content management, in the space of web analytics, in the area of online marketing regarding wasted ad spend, where you should think about having a bot detection, helping you getting back transparency about your data, and optimizing your campaigns for real humans. If you want to use our trial, please go to the user-centrics dashboard now, activate our integration, and after 7 days, we can go through your results individually and make you an offer. If you need more information, feel free to use the 2 resources on the slide. Otherwise, give us a call, give me a ping per email, call us, and we're looking forward to give you back some interesting, transparent information about your specific bot problem that you might have. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. Bye bye.